head right. Right on, my groovies. Welcome to the Loft, your head right hangout. Hold on a second. Do I got two things of music going at the same time? It does? That's because you got, I know that deep down, you wanted to hear it again. And that's all right. That's all right. But you know, we gotta get to the jam going, man. And the weird thing is that I don't see where it would be playing from. Is the music is still going?
Well, no, you're talking now.
Oh, okay. Was that for real?
It was the opening music.
Okay, but it's stopped now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's why professionals have headphones on when they do this sort of stuff. But like, look, I'm almost professional enough to be psychic about these things. I know what's going on, but at the same time, you know, technology is going to do what it's going to do, and sometimes I just might be like overly sensitive or overly prepared for it or whichever, And this is one of those times where I'm glad that I didn't have Instagram going like I was supposed to. Now it's going. That way the Instagrammers couldn't see my clumsiness.
Your camera went out. It's always got to be something.
It's always got to be something. Okay. Let's see. Am I back now? Let me know.
We scared him off.
Wait, come back. I promise. It's like, you know. Anyway. We're going to try to get to the news at some point. Now would be a good idea, Zoe. How about now? Stop making an anus of yourself and get to the news. So, well, I don't know if it's... all right, that's good to know. I don't know if it's so much news. I guess it's kind of news. But, you know, we'll talk about a little bit of this concept of yacht rock. You guys like yacht rock? Are you with it?
Can you define it for us?
Well, okay, we'll go through the stuff that we're going to try to get to. There's yacht rock. Is BS according to Rick Beato? You guys probably heard of him, an audio engineer and a multi-instrumentalist. And a lot of people go to him for like music talk and stuff. And then there's the real reason why music is getting worse. I guess this is also another commentary by Rick Beato. And, you know, so I figure I'll opine in on it too, if you guys don't mind. You know, something to discuss. You know, we'll talk about it. You know, throw some stuff back and forth. Vegas bombers, alleged manifesto is revealed on massive podcast. No terrorists to me. Relatives and friends saw big signs before attack. We'll also get to Kamala Harris forgets the words to the Pledge of Allegiance. And why is that news? It would be news if she actually said it right. They heard her saying it wrong. Is you know the thing. That's just that's them. You know. And we'll talk a little bit about the passing of Jimmy Carter. All right, so let's go ahead and back up to yacht rock. Is it BS? Can you guys? Do you guys dig yacht rock or so-called yacht rock? Which is in our day, in you know Gen X's day, and in the Boomers' day, it was called soft rock.
Yes.
You know? And that pretty much is what who the genre was made by. It was your Boomers made soft rock, and that was the rock that we Gen Xers were weaned on. You know, we listened. Well, it wasn't like music that we went and bought. It was just, that was the music that was playing, at the same time as...
the background of our lives.
Yeah, it's kind of like the background of our lives. We were familiar with that stuff while we had, but there was other music made by, Boomers too, that was, more our taste.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, because some soft rock, man, was cool. I liked some soft rock. Things like, I just wanna stop and tell you what I feel about you, babe. That song was banging, dude. I can't remember what his name was, Louis Vinicelli or something like that. Had the, it was full on, very, very disco Italian. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. Very disco, with the big, big hair and the butterfly collar. And said, I just wanna stop. All right. So some jams like that. Steely Dan. Even to this day, man, when I go grocery shopping, I'm playing Steely Dan.
So I know you're coming.
Yeah, that's my grocery shopping music, man. I put on Steely Dan. I put the album Asia on. And I'm like, let's go get some groceries, man. So I love that album. There's a few albums, y'all. Now that I think about it, like you guys ever get that survey that says name an album that you could just play all the way through without skipping. And really quick, if you're joining on Instagram, thank you. I see Acker Tom, WWJD Roy, was that Mama Rose 68? Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys check out my website, bronzeserpentmedia.com. And thank you guys for joining in on YouTube's and over at my website, bronzeserpentmedia.com. What was I talking about? Were you paying attention?
I literally was holding it in my brain until right now.
No, there's albums. You know, you get that survey albums that.
Yeah. What album can you play all the way through?
Right? Without no skips, all killer, no filler, right? And the first album that comes to my mind is Master Puppets by Metallica.
100.
That's definitely a no skipper, man. That's that whole album is just banging. Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd, Asia, of course, which I just mentioned. Asia, Steely Dan. And those are like the ones that come to my mind like right off the bat. Also, I want to throw Tears for Fears, Songs from the Big Chair into that mix. Love that whole album. And I'm trying to think of some other ones like off the top of my head. I can't think of this. Like it's a short list. You know, it's a short list of albums that I'm like all the way through, man. Every song on here is just popping. So maybe they'll come to mind like as I go. I'll be like, I'll squirrel a minute and I'll come back and say, oh yeah, that's another one of those albums, man, that I remember that I can listen to all the way through with no skips. Vince Guaraldi's.
Oh yeah.
Christmas album. That's that song, man. That album. Love it. It meant pretty much anything by Vince. And you know the thing is, it's not like bossa nova is not like, a favorite genre of mine. I don't mind it, but it's like one of those things that I dig it if Vince Guaraldi does it.
Yeah.
And it's annoying, like, sometimes, I have like my work, playlist, when I'm doing, my work. I have a playlist that I have, and it's mostly all like stuff from the 70s, man. Jazz fusion and different and funk fusion and all that sort of stuff. It's pretty much what I'd be listening to. And but sometimes I'll put on like the jazz cafes and I'll put those in. And even though it says jazz cafe, they play a whole bunch of bossa nova. Mm-hmm. And it's irritating. It's like, look, man, I want to hear some jazz. I just want to kick back and listen to some lounge jazz, nice and organic sounding, man. Just do that, and they keep throwing bossa nova in there, and that's when bossa nova gets annoying. But Vince Guaraldi, he does bossa nova right, it's when he does it. So, but yeah, the Christmas album, the Peanuts Christmas album is an amazing album by Vince Guaraldi. So yeah, those are like my favorite albums, y'all. Can hardly get enough of those. So let's see now. The question is yacht rock BS? And so before it got this term, I guess, which, I don't know, it's supposed to be a pejorative or whatnot, it was called soft rock. And yacht rock came out of, I guess, a parody of the soft rock genre. I guess it was like this term started to take foot in 2005 or whichever. And so in 2005, there was this parody show on HBO parodying people like, Kenny Loggins and Michael McDonald and members of the Doobie Brothers, Hall & Oates, these so-called soft, yacht rockers, but, they were in the soft rock genre. And it was, the show's, it's a little on the vulgar side, it's HBO, so come on, it's going to be a bunch of heathens. And so, according to Rick Beato, the show is a bunch of BS. He knows the guys and all that sort of stuff, and I guess his response is the same thing as Fagin from Steely Dan. The producers of the show from Yacht Rock called him and wanted to interview him, and basically Fagin, well, not basically, he straight out told them to go F themselves.
Yeah.
I guess he was pretty offended by the show. And as much as I like Steely Dan, it doesn't seem like Fagan has much of a sense of humor. But at the same time, you know, I mean, Steely Dan is one of those bands where it's like I really have to forgive them because I think they're a bunch of like, you know, like psycho lefties. Yeah, I think Fagan especially.
Wow.
I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but if I remember right, yeah. And it's like I just have to tune that out. Fortunately, Steely Dan's, they don't really make lyrics that make any sense. It's like they're definitely, their lyrics don't really are not overtly political, and they're kind of like when they make lyrics, it's just kind of like words that fit for the phrase. It's not like a consistent concept. It doesn't seem when I listen to their lyrics. It's like, okay, where are you going with this? It's like there's a basis, you know, kind of to their lyrics and where they might be going, but it's more of a thing where it's not like they're trying to make a statement with their lyrics. It's like, I'm going to say this line, and they're more so concerned with the rhythm of the next line,
Yeah.
the rhyme scheme of the next line, and the melodic structure of the next line that corresponds to the preceding line. In terms of concept, it just has to be vaguely connected to the previous line. So that being said, it's not like you have to you don't really have to pay attention to the lyrics of Steely Dan. It's just something you can sing along to.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing really vulgar in their lyrics, even though Steely Dan is a term for a sexual device. That was I think the term Steely Dan was from that movie Naked Lunch. I think they picked it up from that, or from the book Naked Lunch, and there was a phallic device.
Is it supposed to be a comedy?
What's that?
This Naked Lunch?
Naked Lunch? No, it was kind of not a mockumentary, it wasn't a documentary movie, but it was what is that? Kind of like a biopic. Talking about what's that guy? I haven't even thought about these people in oh my goodness, it must have been 30 years since I last. But it was a movie based on the life of Kafka or something like that.
Oh.
So you know, I think these people are artistic heroin addicts or whichever.
Yeah,
maybe.
basically.
And Steely Dan was one of the features of these things, and Steely Dan was this big, I don't know, steampunk, vibrator, if you will, and they call it the Steely Dan, if I remember correctly. Been a long time. So you got Steely Dan, but their lyrics, you know, they really don't really sing about, as far as I know, anything profane or whichever. So you can sing along to their music, but you know, it's not like you have to think deep about the stuff or whatever. And so, yeah, that being said, Steely Dan, they mentioned Ambrosia and, these, Toto, definitely got to throw Toto in there. And so they're basically, you know, parodying these people and kind of coming up with fantasy narratives about how the songs were inspired and how they were started, and, you know, the competition between all of them and whatnot, and the rivalries and whichever. If you're, you know, years ago, I would have thought the show was really funny, you know, before I, you know, came to Christ and realized that this stuff is contributing to the, you know, the downfall of our culture. It's you have to accept it. It's dude, this stuff sows into the profaneness of our country, and profanity is what's, you know, is choking us, man. We're being choked out by this, you know, profane mindset that people have. You wonder why there's so much perversion. Well, stuff like this sows into it, and we get more of it. It's just, got at some point you got to know where to draw the line and say, look, man, I keep it PG-13, man, and that's it. That's it. I don't need to go any more than that. I don't want to be a contributor to what's going on with our country. Back on my train of thought here. Anyway, the term yacht rock, that's basically where it's coming from. It's this parody that has coined this phrase yacht rock. And yacht rock it's like one of those things, and I'm going to paraphrase. I'm giving kind of my interpretation of where this show was going with why this genre would be called yacht rock. For the kind of music that it is, you were talking about some pretty sophisticated players. First up, okay, when you listen to yacht rock, this is music played by cats that are no slouches. All right, they're well respected in the industry. They're journeymen, like Toto. They're journeymen in the industry. They pretty much play on everything. Their comprehension of music, not just as session players, but their comprehension of knowing how to make music that is so commercially viable. Okay, to know how to put together these formulas, it's genius. It's very sophisticated. We may hear it, y'all, and it may sound like some simple progressions and stuff like that, but these are the kind of progressions that have mass appeal. That's the thing about it. It doesn't matter. It's like, say, for instance, Steve Lukather, amazing guitar player, amazing, right? I mean, he's all over, man. And not only does he have the velocity, he's got the discretion. You know what I'm saying? He knows which notes to pick and knows how to make them sound good. And the thing is, it's not like he's like in the consumer world of music. It's not like he's really known for, that I know of, that he's not really known for being this virtuoso, like Steve Vai, Eddie Van Halen, like level guitar players, Joe Satriani. I mean, he's up there, right? He's like amazingly good, but it's not like he's really known for that. You know, he's known as, if anybody, you know, knows him, they just know him as Toto. And they're thinking, okay, Rosanna, Africa. They're thinking that, you know, that's what they're thinking. But they're not thinking of Steve Lukather as this amazing guitar player, which he is. And but all that to say, they're writing this music that is very, they know how to formula a music to where it's very digestible and has this commercial appeal. That takes a lot of sophistication, y'all. So all that to say, if you got a yacht, well, this is a symbol of prestige. It's a symbol of sophistication, you know. And when you get people like of this caliber playing, you're talking prestige, you're talking sophistication, you're talking resources. You know, the resources that you need to have a yacht. Well, the resources to be able to hire people like, you know, the players of Toto and have these different, or Steely Dan having these players come in, man, these legends to be able to come in and play on their albums. Well, you have to have, you know, resources and clout to be able to do that. This is why yacht rock is not so much when you think of this kind of music, a person who owns a yacht comes to mind. You know what I'm saying? When you have these players who are coming in and making it, and the production quality, you want the finest, right? So the engineering of this audio, when you have these guys play, man, you want to have it very choice. The same way a person who owns a yacht is going to have this palette for the things that he's going to want on his boat. You see what I'm saying? He's going to want to have the finest quality of things, you know, that's going to sail out with him. And it's the same thing, you know, with the yacht rock. You listen to the production value of these things, like Steely Dan, these guys, very meticulous. You know, it's got to be, you know, mwah. It's got to be like, you know, we're going to do a whole bunch of takes until you get this right. You know, like Toto working on Michael Jackson stuff, you know, working with Quincy Jones and whatnot. Wow. I think they did like 90 something masters of that versions of that. And I think, and rumor has it, you know, or legend has it that like there was over 90 remasters of that album to get the one that hit the shelves that you guys know about. And I think they ended up going with the third one.
Oh my gosh. That's
right?
Crazy.
Yes, just meticulous. You want the finest, right? Like a person who owns a yacht. So yeah, yacht rock, it makes sense. Okay, so all that to say, you've got these basically you've got the upper echelon, like a person you want on your yacht. You know, hey, I'm gonna have a yacht party, right? Hey, I think you would fit in really well there, guy or gal or whichever. And the same thing, you know, when you've got these players, man, they're like the Rat Pack, the high society, the upper echelon of the music industry. You know, players that you would want working on your album, right? So to take yacht rock as like some sort of, you know, pejorative and whatnot, you know, like it's like this, it's taboo to call it yacht rock. It's not like the term doesn't fit, you know, but the thing is, yacht rock was born out of this parody. I'm giving you an example of why the term could fit. It's not like it's not like a misnomer. It's not like it's wrong. You know, I mean, heck, man, even Christopher Cross had a song called Sailing. You know, remember that song, Saying? And you know, you out on your yacht and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And these cats even had videos. You know, I think who was that? What was that song? Key Largo? Remember that song?
Yes,
I think he's got a video where he's going out on his boat and he's got his honey with him and stuff like that. It's you know, you put on this music and whether you want to go for a cruise or you go out for a boat ride, man, the genre fits.
I was gonna say, whenever I first heard the term yacht rock, and it's been that way ever since, whenever I hear it, I picture Sailing by Christopher Cross.
Come on now.
I picture Captain and Tennille, because as a little kid, I saw them, and I didn't really like the music.
Right.
But I was just like, oh, that looks interesting. It was like, you know, oceanic kind of boat theme.
Yeah, the Captain and Tennille, right? Come on now, Muskrat Rub. Can you dig it? So, is a sledge version of that. So Muskrat Love. I ain't gonna do it. I can't do that.
Reed says, oh, there goes my phone. Glad you got me a new one. Mess it up.
Chris.
Reed says, don't forget Gary Rafferty and Atlanta Rhythm Section.
What's don't tell me. Gary Rafferty did was that Baker Street? That was Gary Rafferty, right?
Somebody
gonna let me know.
Reed,
Somebody gonna let me know.
are you
I'm pretty
still
sure
here?
Baker Street. Right? That's a jam right there. I'd have covered that. Foo Fighters had already covered it. I wanted to cover that song, but I think Foo Fighters already got to. I can still cover it.
Yeah.
And then and which reminds me of who's that cat? Rupert, the Escape song, right? Escape, Pina Colada.
Yeah.
You know, even that's got an ocean theme to it. You know?
That's going to drive me crazy. Rupert, what was his last name?
Rupert,
Because they used to do the Time Life, like the songs, selling the songs, and they
Yep.
used to play his song, and that name was so strange to me as a little
Yeah.
kid. I always remembered that name, and now I can't remember it.
we just know that name Rupert is in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Rupert or Rupertson. If you like pina coladas. And you know, the thing is, and when you're a kid, or at least when I was a kid, I'm just thinking pina coladas. You know, of course, the version daiquiri, of course, of the pina colada. And then, you know, you get a little bit older and it's like, these people are talking about cheating on each other. And then they bump into each other cheating on each other. And that's what rekindles their relationship.
Rupert Holmes.
Rupert Holmes. There you
Dang
go.
it.
Thank you. Thank you, y'all. And it's like, yeah, you wonder why Gen X is so screwed up.
Right.
can't keep no relationships, man.
High mileage husband in the house.
What's up, high mileage?
Okay, Reed came through. He said, yep, Baker Street and right down the line.
Right down the line. Oh, man.
Why does that sound so familiar?
I'm going to have, you know, and because it's one of those things where I was like, I know that song. I have not heard it in a long, either I haven't heard it in a long time or that's probably that I haven't heard it in a long time. Let's see. So all that to say, y'all, the term yacht rock, I don't really have too much of an issue with, but it's the genre is already, you know, it's already got a principal, it's already a principal subgenre of rock, okay? Soft rock. But Beto's examples, he's kind of like, Beto is beating up on this term yacht rock, and he's basically saying like how offended by the term it is.
Yeah.
But he's not only offended by the term yacht rock, he's offended by these artists supposedly being pigeonholed as soft rock. But here's the thing. Well, in all fairness, like if you look up some of these bands, the genre will pop up yacht rock. Okay, and it has basically legitimized the genre.
How long has this genre been a thing?
Oh, at least since 2005, but it's been a term that's been around for a while.
I heard about it in probably like 2016.
Yeah, oh yeah,
I guess I was late.
I mean, well, we don't really listen to that music
That's
often,
true.
so
Yeah.
But I mean, but we know, you know, we know people in that genre
Yep.
and stuff like that.
We
but
know some of the musicians.
yeah, we know some of them, and we won't say their names because you know the cancel culture. They have their apprehensions about cancel culture, so
Yeah.
you know I don't say their names. And plus that, you know, the people that they work with are a bunch of hardcore lefties, you know, the members of their band and stuff like that. So, you know, it's one of those things where I just So they can, yeah. Anyway, but the term soft rock, y'all, the case that Beto is making is that he's playing songs by these bands, and he says that it's like to classify them as soft rock is absolutely wrong, and it's not absolutely wrong and the thing is he's cherry picking certain songs, like say for instance like from Toto, he plays like Rosanna. He's like, that's not soft rock, that's rock. He's like, okay, or he'll play something like he played Rosanna, and I'm trying to think of another hit song that Toto had. That's kind of more of the rock ride, but I think you guys get my point. But the thing is, Toto is not limited to that either. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I think as a primary genre, yeah, Toto would be like, a adult contemporary rock band of their contemporaries, back in that day when they were the top 40 of that day. But in terms of like rock music, it's more like Toto is more pop, or a rock kind of pop, if you will. Even that being like a chief genre, pop being a chief genre and rock, and it's like you put those two together, and you still have a chief genre as far as I'm concerned, rock pop. But Toto they also did soft rock too. So to say that Toto wouldn't fit in that genre is not true. Like say for instance, I'm not the only one that holds you. I never ever should have told you I'm your own. It's like songs like that. Georgie Porgy, that's soft rock. Very. It's got elements of R&B. It's got the elements of some people don't like it when you call them jazz chords. But it does have jazzy chords to it. It's got a little bit of a jazzy feel to it. It doesn't really swing. It's pretty straight ahead, but you can detect a little bit of a swing to it rhythmically, a little bit. And the chord progressions, they're definitely more. There's more complexity to their chords. They're not. Well, let me put it this way. They're not more mainstream. When I think of chords that aren't more mainstream, like the chords that with the basic major chords that you hear, whether A through G, and the basic positions of those chords, that there's a formula of chords that you can hear. There's like 4 chords, a formula of chords like a 4, and you can play like 100 songs that are played on the radio, just like that. It's like there's you guys know what I'm talking about, right? There's so many songs that share the same chord progression. You just texture them differently, or you put them in a different meter or anything like that. But, so many songs, they share the same 4-chord progression. I'm talking about the chords that aren't in that mainstream selection of chords, or in that mainstream selection that would come through your typical A chords through G, And so those chords that are featured more so in jazz. Right? So those guys, so I don't mind calling them jazzy chords. I don't think it's even lazy to call them jazzy chords. I think it's pretty appropriate to call them jazz chords. And those are the kind of chords that you would find in songs like Georgie Porgy. And a lot of times that you will find in the soft rock genre. They're usually more of your forgive me if I'm using the nomenclature incorrectly, but you're more of your major seventh kind of chords. Those kind of chords, I love those kind of chords. Right, the more added, the added chords on top of the triad chords. When you add a little bit more complexity to it, and you get this nice syrupy voicing when you hit the chord. It's not typical. Right, you hear that? There's one thing to play that G chord, baby, but you make this one little position. Of your digit, man, and you get something different. It's still a G chord, but it's like a G add 11th or something like that, and it's like now that's what a G chord is supposed to sound. That's what a G chord is supposed to sound like to me, right? And once again, if you're a guitar player or a pianist and somebody who's good at structuring chords and stuff like this, like, so you don't know what you're talking about. I don't really speak melody that much. I'm a drummer, right? My forte is rhythm more than it is melody. You know, I have a vague concept of these things, but it's like, you know, and I do write or compose my own music. And when I do it, a lot of it is from a layman's point, from a layman's approach, admittedly. So I have a, you know, not a very, I wouldn't say a skilled perspective in terms of like how these chords are structured, but I do have like a little bit of an idea. So with Rick, you know, saying that these artists don't fit in the soft rock genre, you know, I don't totally disagree, but I guess I would have a little bit of a variant of a disagreement, because they do make some of those songs, and those songs are known as soft rock songs. I think he would be more pigeonholing them than anybody who would say that they're soft rock, because he's putting them to where it's like, no, they're rock, and that's all they do.
Yeah.
That is not all they do, right? And by his own admission, he'll say they've played on millions of records. Well, they've played on millions of records in all sorts of genres, right? So they're journeymen, man. They can do a lot of this stuff. So to just pigeonhole them as just rock players, that's not what they are.
Silver Staxer says, have you heard what God does from Red Clay Strays? Not jazz, but different.
Huh.
What God does from Red Clay Strays. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Oh, thanks for the lead, man. I'll check that out. Have you heard what God does? By who again?
Red Clay Strays.
Red Clay Straits. Okay, we'll check that out. When did that come out?
What God does.
I wouldn't, mind checking that out, find out what era it's from and all that good stuff. And then, then this next subject, if you will, ties into what we were just talking about. And according to Rick Beato, this is the real reason why music is getting worse. And actually, it's a video, it's not really an article. But if you want to check out his take on it, there's that. And if you guys don't mind, I'll offer my perspective on what's happening to music, whether it's getting worse or whether it's getting better. What seems, and I reckon it must be getting worse because people keep saying that today's music is garbage. Well, they said that about our music back then. It's like the next generation's music is always going to be garbage to the previous generation, right? But as it seems to be getting worse. And on a side note, once again, y'all, I have to say, okay, we got music that's getting worse, and we see the mainstream people from whatever genre, whether it's Taylor Swift, whether it's Green Day, whether it's these people, and it's like I don't really know anybody who likes their music. Their music is it's like, oh, it's garbage, man. This stuff is garbage, but they're world known, right? And it just keeps me wondering. It's like, well, how come I can't promote my music? Is my music garbage? Is it really suck? Does it suck that bad where hardly anybody listens to it? And I'm like, but that couldn't be the case because people who are making millions of dollars, I don't know anybody who thinks their music is good. Their music is garbage. But people buy they're streaming their music or they're downloading it or whichever and all that sort of stuff. They're well known. They're world known. So I don't know. I guess maybe that's not it. I don't know. Is my music garbage or what? But you have these people who are making this music, and let's kind of just make an examination of first starting off with the accessibility of music. I get it that like according to Beto is basically saying that music has lost its value, and I agree with that a lot. We don't treat music the same way. And maybe in a way that's a good thing, because the way people treat music, it kind of leads towards idolizing the musician as well. And there is a lot of idolatry in terms of the artists who make this music. They're very influential. People want to emulate them and all this sort of stuff and look up to them and idolize them as well. And that's not a good, because it's one of the reasons why it's not a good thing is because the artists that they idolize, y'all, are real dirtbags. That's the thing. Unfortunately, it's like a lot of these musicians that people looked up to are just total they're bad news, man. It's bad news, and have a bad influence on these people. Unfortunately, as you know, you start to adopt their behavior and stuff like that, as opposed to their ability and trying to catch up, and be inspired and be able to play as well as they are. You start doing some of the things that they do that has gotten them known. And that's how you end up with a lot of musicians, doing drugs and and having this behavior that is just unbecoming, if you will. But today, when we have music that is just so accessible, y'all, it's just, choice is great, some choices not so great. And maybe sometimes there's an oversaturation of choice and an over-accessibility of choice to where you really don't appreciate your choices anymore. Okay? And because there is so much music in the market now, and it's good to see that there's a lot of people out there expressing themselves artistically and whatnot, that's fine. But this culture, a lot of this culture is made up of people who just feel really entitled to stuff. And that's one of the things that has devalued music so much. Everybody, you have this culture, especially that's represented in music, this collectivist mindset, and they've done it to themselves. And I guess Lars Ulrich was seen as the bad guy for pointing this stuff out.
Yeah.
And he was right. But you have this entitlement mindset, and it's a weird thing because musicians, they act like they want to show themselves as virtuous, where they pander to this collectivist mindset. But when it comes to music, it's like nobody should have ownership of our music, our artistic integrity, and all that sort of stuff. But meanwhile, while they're saying that, they make it to where we should live in this socialist model where the state owns all facets of industry. It's like that's how they want the rest of us to live. But no, you're not going to own my music. My music is my music. Well, they're saying that while their publisher owns their music. Like System of a Down saying, get out there and steal this album. It's like you telling people to go and steal this album, man. You try to walk out of that record store with that. Right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, man. You're telling people to go steal. Well, and why? Why are you telling people to steal that album? Who are you telling them to steal from? Are you telling them to steal that album from the publishers who made a deal with you? Why would you do that, man? You're totally teaching these people to be irresponsible and entitled.
Did they tell their fans to do that after they became multimillionaires or right when they released the album?
They were already millionaires. What was that? Because I think Steal This album came after, what was that stupid album? Anyway, but the album that they broke through with, right? And System of a Down is just another one of those bands that flip and disgust me, man. It's like, they're filthy rich, and he's screaming, why did I always send the poor? It's like, dude, Ozzy Osbourne already asked that question back with Black Sabbath, okay? And the thing is, it was a stupid question for Ozzy to ask back then, too. He's like, why did I send the poor to fight the wars and all that sort of stuff? Look, idiot, you're rich. If you want to go fight, go ahead. I don't think the government's going to stop you. If you want to sign up for the military, they'll take you. They'll take you. You know what I'm saying? It's a System of a Down out there. Why did I send the poor? Take your behind down there into the recruiting office, man. They'll sign you up. They'll send your rich behind too.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. So it's making these.
Now, feel free to donate supplies to them too.
Thank you, man.
Troops.
If
you care about the poor soldiers so much.
Right. But that's the kind of stuff, that I think that contributed. That's the kind of stuff contributes to the devaluation of music. Those lyrics are cheap and easy to pander to people's shallow sense of self-righteousness. That's the kind of stuff that makes music gets worse. And when you're gonna influence somebody to come up the ranks to produce music that is just as shallow as what you just made. But we can go online. And you can just go ahead and download this music. All these people just putting out this music, trying to get their little bit of pennies. And see, they're thinking, if you're gonna self-publish your album, you have all the access to your royalties, save the processing fees and all that sort of stuff. But you're gonna get all the royalties are gonna go to you, and so that's how you're gonna make your fortune. Because heck, even the artist, when they get their royalty, they're only like, if the album sells for like, I don't know, or back then, at least when we bought albums, even if it was in CD form or whichever, still an album, right? You buy this body of work, you pay $14 for it. The artist is only going to get like what, 2 cents, point. They're only going to get like they're going to get pennies.
And they have to split that between all of them, or how does that work?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Right. So they're it's not like they're going to get a big cut of that sale. But the thing is, they have publishers. All right? Publishers who are going to make sure those songs are played on the radio stations and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, you get a few 100,000 of those units sold. Well, those pennies, they add up.
Yeah, I guess so, huh?
So that's a whole different thing. As opposed to, okay, I'm going to self-publish, and if I sell an album for $14, all that $14 goes to me, save the processing fees. So you probably get like, $11 out of that $14. Hey, that's still over $10 that you're going to get for your album, right? Pretty much all the proceeds go to you. But the difference is you're probably not going to reach, 100,000, people trying to sell it because you ain't got a publisher. So you may get to keep most proceeds for your album. And there's some people who do it, y'all. Don't get me wrong. There's some people do it. Some people can. But the market is so saturated with music now, it's become harder and harder and harder to make a name for yourself in the music business. Music the music industry has destroyed itself. Or not the music industry. Well, the music industry has kind of destroyed itself too. It got destroyed. But the musicians themselves, y'all, we did it to ourselves, and the consumer. Now, I don't think I'm part of that formula because I don't have this entitlement mindset. I don't have the mindset of the typical musician, the mainstream musician, who has promoted this collectivist mindset and has promoted this victim mentality and this entitlement mindset that just constantly means that says that people are owed. All right, and music should be free. No, it shouldn't. If you value it, be prepared to pay for it. All right. So, but now you can go ahead and pay $10, and you can just and you can just go ahead and stream this, that, and whatever. And it's like, y'all, the luster is gone. It's gone now. It's being a musician, man. I don't know. It's even for myself. It's heartbreaking because I never really had a career as a musician. And I have to wonder, am I still trying to do music because out of a habit? It's just what I know how to do. It's like it's supposed to be just something I do. I've never really I've made a living at it. No. Never really had a career as a musician. Just always wanted to be a career musician. And trying to, just still do it. It's like, why do I still do this? Hardly anybody appreciates my music. I like it, and I have to I'm constantly wondering, am I lying to myself and thinking that this is decent music that anybody would care to listen to? Because pretty much hardly. Thank you guys for those who have purchased. Thank you. I'd like to think that you purchased it because you actually really like it, not because you feel sorry for me. But I think those who've listened to it are pleased with the music that I make. But I'm like, wow, my music, it doesn't really seem to hardly appeal to anybody. And it's like, why do I keep doing it? And especially in the market that we have today. It's like, man, it's no point, dude. You need to find something else to do with your time. Because you're not going to have a career as a musician. You're not ever going to really be known for being a musician. But I do enjoy playing music. I enjoy making music like when I can. And, but in this market, y'all, it's not even so much of people appreciating my music. Just the appreciation for music today it's just not the same. Beto talks about, and I agree, You know, there was a time, man, when you would go to purchase music, you actually had to go purchase it. You actually had to do enough work. See, now you can purchase now with just even with what's disposable of your disposable income.
Yeah.
You know, it ain't gonna really cost you that much. $10 and you can go ahead and get a whole bunch of songs, get a whole bunch of music, right? Used to be $10 would get you one album.
Yeah.
Right? Not a whole bunch of albums. All right. It used to be discovering music, man, was really like a treasure hunt. You had to go explore. You had to go explore. Right? Now you just sit there, or if you want to go somewhere, wherever you go, you can always explore. You just scroll. It's not hardly any leg work or anything like that. There's the palatability of it.
Yeah.
You know, going in and, you know, going to the record store, man, and exploring, looking through generations of albums.
Yeah, when that guy was talking about this Rick Beato guy, when he was talking about the energy that you had to expend, like knocking on doors and mowing lawns, or having your after-school job to go work that job, then go buy the record, go down to the store, seek it out, buy the record, go home and listen to it, then go to your friend's house and listen to it with them. And I was like, yeah, gosh, that's all gone.
Yeah, that's gone, man. You know, that was maybe we took those things for granted when we were younger.
Oh, sure.
And the thing is, y'all, our generation is the generation that came up with the technology that this generation is using now. While we're saying, look at what's happened to music. Well, we set it up to be that way. We did that. All right. But yeah, it's like and I agree, because we've thought about these things. It's like, man, just go to the record store, you know, and you know, looking at the album, the artwork on the albums, you know, touch it, flip it over, look at the lyrics and all that sort of stuff, and
hide the parental advisory from your mom if you go with her.
right? See who the players are, you know, who produced the album and things like that, you know, and then flip on to the next one. Being able to, you know, maybe put on the headphones and sample them while you're there is, and like you said, you get the album, you know, and there's a way of if you wanted to preserve the album, if you had the responsibility to be able to preserve that, you had to show a value if you wanted to, you know, to keep being able to keep playing the album. But y'all, on the other side of it, you're gonna have each generation is going to set up for these. It's always going to be a trade-off. You're going to trade one thing for the other. That's just nature, man. That's just nature. It used to be, if you wanted to hear music, you know, like say for instance, what you gonna do if you want to hear something by Beethoven? What you gonna do? They didn't have record players back then that I know of, you know. Or if you had these concertos, or if you had these virtuosos who were playing this music and you heard about them and stuff like that. You either had to be able to go see them play, or you had to have or they had to be on tour. You know, they're on tour, or they leased their music out for another concerto in your locality to be able to play. You know, or you had to be able to know how to play it. If you were able to get the manuscripts, and you knew how to play, you know, the respective instrument. Particularly if you wanted to hear more of the breadth of the song, you had to be able to play it on a piano, right? If you only knew how to play trumpet, then you could only play, like, you know, you could assume to play the concert chords of it, but you'd just be an element in the concert chords, you know. So that's how you would be able to hear it. Pretty complicated, all right. But that's how you were able to hear music, or unless you had like a music box, or if you had some sort of like scroll. Where you could play it, maybe you could play the automatic piano and you can go ahead and listen to the music on that or something, whichever. So this is how you would.
That is how I got to hear a lot of classic music, because my grandfather had a whole bunch of all the classical musicians. Yeah. On the player piano. That's so archaic now, but.
Archaic, right? So hey, we need a more efficient way to be able to promote, you know, to publish music, you know. So then we end up with things like the phonograph.
Yeah.
You know, there might have been other inventions also aside from the phonograph. I think there was like another thing where it's kind of like a rolling mechanism that also, I think, corresponded to a stylus. I think.
Wow.
Now, so the phonograph. That's going to be the technology where people can, have access to this music that they would want to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. And so from the phonograph, fast forward, no pun intended, to the tape. And because, phonographs, you get to listen to them in your home. All right, what if you want to hear that music someplace else? Okay, that's, the 8-track, comes into play. It's kind of hard to play a phonograph. You're going to get a lot of skips, and we're also looking for ways to be able to preserve the music. It's like, man, the vinyl discs, man, they get damaged. You got to be so careful on how you care for them. If you bust it, man, you got to get another one, or scratch it, you got to get another one. And, it's costing money. So naturally, y'all, we're going to try to improve on being able to have access to this music. So then you get your tapes, because also you want it to be portable. I want to listen to it someplace else, man. I don't want to just always listen to it at my home, but at the same time, it does give you something to look forward to. You know what I mean? Sometimes you've heard the term, man, I wore that tape out.
Yep.
Yeah, you're listening to it everywhere you go. I guess it's like a cologne losing its scent, man. It's like all of a sudden, maybe you should have something that you can look forward to. Wait to get home so you can listen to your phonograph, But as it is, people want more accessibility to it, so we get this more portable way of listening to this music. All right, and then from there, you're going to run into problems with the tapes. The tapes get eaten, or the tape breaks or whichever. The time it takes to rewind and fast forward, all that sort of stuff. We need a more effective way to be able to do this. We want a more effective way to access our music. That's just the natural course of things, man. That's just the natural course of anything. And the natural course of it ended up leading to CDs. Now we don't have to worry about the tapes getting eaten.
Yeah.
It's compact CD, compact disc, right? It's more compact. You can, it's not cumbersome or anything like that. You put it in your car. You got a little kind of disc style Walkman and all that sort of stuff. And it's an easier way to preserve the music. Right? So with this digitized music now, heck, man, it was inevitable that it would become this digital music that you could just stream. You don't have to store it. You don't even have to store it on your computer. You can go ahead and online has become the new record store. They're the record shops that are storing all this music. They have the inventory of all this music. And heck, man, since you don't have to make a stack of it or a CD collection of it, and they obviously don't have to have a big warehouse for it per se, for this digital inventory. Well, naturally, it's going to be like, well, you can just go ahead and stream it, download it, stream it, whichever, And because of all the access now, that's the trade-off. It's very accessible now, but the value of it has gone down.
Yeah.
Think of it like this, y'all. It's basically musical inflation. It's basically what it is. The more money gets printed, the more of it gets printed, the less value it is. The more music that's being printed out there, and the more access you have to it, the less value it is. That's what we got. We basically have musical inflation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was gonna say something.
Caleb P says the adoration that a ton of musicians get is adoration not meant for man. That's why some of these artists got so messed up. Indeed.
And a lot of it is they did get messed up. Some of them were messed up going in. But some of them just got really messed up as they got there. And you can see it in a lot of them where they have this guilt complex about how successful they are, because they know that in terms of like morality and all that sort of stuff, they don't deserve to be there. And that's one of the reasons why they're so torn up about it. It's like they didn't really do anything to deserve this. They've got and when they get into that field, man, they start running into people who are really, really talented. Really talented, and it gives them a complex, and they're just like, man, I'm just some knucklehead, man, who got lucky. I just got lucky. And it catches up with them. And unfortunately, instead of doing the right thing and coming to the Lord to know how to cope with it, they end up going to the bottle, they're going to drugs, and start getting really insecure about these things. Like, say, for instance, even James Hetfield, of Metallica, he suffers. He was already, he was kind of like emotionally and mentally, strained before going in, already had anger issues, and and they were drunks and stuff like that. And Hetfield, man, don't get me wrong, man, because I think I'm a fan. I'm a fan of his as a music writer, and his execution of music. But James Hetfield he suffers with like deep anxiety, struggled with alcohol. Unfortunately, his marriage didn't survive it, and stuff like that. His wife hung in there for as long as she could, and but he was he was very insecure. He's still, as far as I know, he's still very, very insecure because he's like, man, I'm like 60 now. Or when he was pushing 60, he's like breaking down on stage. I'm just some old guy, man, playing guitar. And it's like we're known for James Hetfield being like, flipping Thor with a guitar, man. Get on there and you play them chunky riffs, all them downstroke riffs, and singing at the same time and all that sort of stuff. He's just cranking out some thunder. But he's like, he's ridden with anxiety because it's like, look, man. He's having to see, he knows that there are some players out there making some chunky flipping music, right? Doing things on guitar that is jaw-dropping for him. And he's like, why am I considered a heavy metal god? I mean, James Hetfield, Metallica is world known now. They're the biggest rock band ever, right? The most influential. They've inspired people. And people be like, Kirk Hammett, man, and the people that Kirk Hammett inspired to play guitar can smoke Kirk Hammett now, right? And Kirk Hammett, he's never really, and don't get me wrong, that's not a dig against Kirk Hammett. It's not a dig against him. Kirk Hammett has never boasted in being an amazing guitar player. He doesn't really come off as this person that he's not like say for instance Dave Mustaine. Dave Mustaine is an amazing guitar player, and Dave Mustaine puts out the air. He's not so much arrogantly like, oh yes, I'm an amazing guitar player. It's just that Dave Mustaine just has this. He has this mojo about him where it's just like it already speaks for itself in the way he carries himself, the way he handles the guitar and stuff like that. It's in his body language that, yeah, dude, I'm pretty dang good on this thing. I don't even have to say it. All right. It's just in my body language. I know how to get down on this thing. Right. Kirk Hammett doesn't vibe like that. Okay. Kirk Hammett's is like, look, man, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to throw down this solo. I'm going to do the best I can. And I know I've got the speed, and I know that I know that I can play this thing. And that's about what it is. The way he carries himself with the guitar doesn't have the same bravado in what's exuded from like someone like Dave Mustaine. All right. So all that to say, Kirk Hammett knows that, yeah, man, I may have inspired these people to how to play, but he knows that like these people have surpassed me by miles. I inspired them, yes, but they've surpassed me. James and Kirk seems to be able to handle that very well. James Hetfield, on the other hand, not so much. All right. And I think Dave has tried to contact James and be like, brother, let's talk, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Because Dave is saying, despite, him being the heathen, that started Megadeth and stuff like that, Dave Mustaine is an outspoken Christian now. And so an outspoken Christian doesn't necessarily, I don't know if he's more of a, I think he's definitely a believer and he's a proclaimer of Christ. In terms of a follower of Christ, I don't know about that, but he definitely he proclaims Christ, and has probably wanted to talk to Jay and say, look, man, all this stuff that you're feeling, it's like, do you remember when I was the knucklehead? I was the one that y'all had to kick out of Metallica. I was the one with the big problem, man, I got Jesus, man. And, hey, James, you should try him. Mm-hmm. And James, I don't know, he's kind of been in and out of that. I don't know, in terms of his politics, he doesn't really make a big voice about as far as that goes. Seems like there's been like rumors that he leans to the right and that he does believe in God and believe in Jesus, but just hasn't really made a declaration of that. And that's the thing about it. In order to be a Christian, man, you got to make that public declaration. As the word says, you confess me before men, I will confess you before my Father. Okay, that's how it's got to be. So James is definitely somebody who definitely needs the Lord, and I think Dave Mustaine has wanted to convey that with him, but I guess he really can't get James on the phone as far as that goes, or anything else. Probably because Dave keeps trying to say, hey man, we should do an album together like that, which I think it would be rather awkward.
Yes.
It's like, look man, that ship is, maybe you should just let that go. Metallica is more known at this time for James, Lars, and Kirk. Okay, and I think Mark Trujillo has made an amazing stamp in Metallica, and I think Metallica, probably not so much that they shot themselves in the foot or whatnot, but after Cliff Burton died, man, there was some big shoes to fill, and them getting Jason Newsted, who definitely had a different approach to playing bass. And that was a pretty demanding role. And in terms of the energy that Jason Newsted brought to Metallica, Jason definitely did the job. And I think, James and Lars definitely took that for granted. And I think they were rather imposing on Newsted in these different fashions, and until Jason he ended up departing, and Trujillo took the bass from there. And I think in terms of the authority, let me put it like that, the authority that Robert Trujillo brings to the bass, his approach to it, to be a follow-up of Cliff Burton, Trujillo is definitely a better fit, I think. Like I said, his approach. In terms of the energy, Jason Newsted's he's up there with him. Jason Newsted is can handle the bass for that genre just fine. If like, say for instance, if Metallica started off with Newsted would have been a great fit for Metallica. Okay. But we're talking about somebody to follow up with Cliff Burton. And not to say that Jason Newsted's skill level or whichever to playing bass and holding down the bass position for Metallica, not to say that he's not as capable as Cliff Burton. I'm talking about the approach to how the bass was played by Cliff Burton for Metallica is more of a fit for Trujillo, from the finger style to just like the unbridled approach to playing the bass. Okay, it's the Cliff and Trujillo. Trujillo was just the follow up. But like I said, if Newsted was the original bass player for Metallica, he'd do just fine. But we're talking about a fit, from Cliff to who's going to follow up with that. So that's just my personal perspective as far as that goes. So we're trying to talk about music getting worse though. Music, I remember there was a time when you actually had to learn how to play your instruments. And the thing is, y'all, even for electric, like with the introduction of the electric guitar, well, y'all, that's a technological leap. I mean, instruments before that, you have your wind instruments and you have your acoustic instruments and things like that. So would it have been wrong to create the electric guitar? Would it have been wrong to assemble technology to yield this instrument that it's gonna have a broader level of voicings as well as volume? You can adjust. It went from being not only to be able to adjust the tone, the characteristics by what pickup you're going to use, and then being able to adjust the characteristics of the pickups themselves, how much distortion you're going to use, the signal that's coming in. It's going to heat up these tubes or whichever to give you this other sound, this more electric kind of sound, this energy. It's going to have this energy in it, right? That you couldn't get with an acoustic guitar. You can get a lot of energy, but not this kind. This is a whole different type of energy. Should that have not been done? Should we have not come up with the Mini Moog and the synthesizers, you know, and your Hammonds and things like that, and your Rhodes? Should we not have done that? Because, you know, that's, you know, technology is going to, you know, introduce different ways to express with these musical instruments. And because these instruments are going to start to have digital aspects to them, well, it stands to reason that you're going to start to incorporate your processor from your computer. Your keyboard itself can only process, you know, sounds, you know, at a certain level, but it's even more efficient when you interface them with your processor on your computer. You know, you have this outboard agent that you interface with your keyboard now. That's how people are doing it. You know, so now, heck, what's going to be the next leap? Well, you can go to a catalog of chords that are already selected for you. Yeah, that's where we are now. I mean, remember back in the day, it used to be the drum machine. Now, see, now keyboardists and guitarists and other instrumentalists are being replaced by the computer. It doesn't say a lot that I guess the drums were the earliest things and the easiest things to replace. You know, as they were replaced with the drum machine. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't really care for rap music.
Yes.
You know, it's I didn't mind rap music earlier on when the themes weren't as profane as they had become. You know, when we had like Sugar Hill Gang, you know, and Rapper's Delight, you know, and you know, that was the fun stuff, man. Those were good times, you know. And then rap became just something. It just became this caustic genre of music lyrically. But also I didn't like it because, like, man, they replaced the drummer. They're just using samples, you know, samples and drum machines and things like that. And it's like, man, I'm out. I don't like this.
It sounded stupid to me.
Yeah, it just, yeah, you know, want to hear some real drums. And now you can go in and you don't even have to know how to play the keyboards. You don't even have to touch one. You don't even have to touch a guitar or anything like that. They've got a pre-selection of chords. And here's the thing, y'all. Even that still, y'all, that's still it's gonna become an art form. People are gonna become more proficient at it. The way that they're gonna, you know, structure these songs, make this progression of chords. You still gotta select which chords you're gonna make a progression with. Right? You still got to do that. You got to select what kind of meter it's going to be in. You got to select the voicing. Not only just select the instrument that you're going to do, but you got to give it a voice. How are you going to texture that voice? What kind of voice you're going to put on it? You know, the dynamics. You know, how it's going to the verse is it going to you know drop down to a more mezzo piano type vibe, if you will, and then crescendo into something more aggressive, you know, in the chorus. And you still got to, if you're going to make a commercially viable song, you still got to have these things. You know, there's still this formula of that you're going to have, and that in itself that's going to be an art form. You know, I don't particularly like it. I don't like how inorganic it is. It's still something very, you know, sterile and very, I don't know, not human. It's something, it's soulless, if you will. But the question is, yeah, we can lament about this sort of stuff, but how do we get back? Or do we go back? Is it necessary to go back? Or maybe that's the wrong thing to say. It's not about going back to a time when these things were valued. How do we go forward to that? Where do we go from here? It's not a point that where we need to go back.
Yeah. Because
going back to what? Who has that standard of what it is to go back to? Who has the standard of what it is to go forward to? But we know we want to go. We want something better. Is it a point of going forward to not taking things for granted and appreciating where you are? Because you know what? The way things, if music may be worse now, but maybe if we don't appreciate it, we may end up with something even much worse than what we got now. You know, sometimes you gotta appreciate what you got and consider what to do going forward to make an improvement on these things. You know, if we're trying to capture that something special, You know, speaking of which, Trump is actually come out with a line of guitars.
Yes.
Right, and it's not a hoax, man. He's actually got and the slogan is "Make music great again." And how do we do that? I say one of the things that will make music great again is like, man, knock it off with all the cussing in music, man. It doesn't give power to your music. It actually cheapens. It makes your music weaker. All right, knock it off with having kids sing these songs, man. It's like they should be songs that that you can sing around, your mom, But nowadays, I guess that doesn't even matter.
That's true. Moms are.
Yeah, because their moms were singing the same kind of music. So
yeah.
I remember we danced all night to a love ballad called "Me So Horny."
Yeah, exactly.
There was a comedian who I don't remember what his name was. He said, "I met your mama in a nightclub and we danced all night." That's where we're going. So what do you guys think, man? It's in terms of music getting worse. Like I said, between not even really knowing how to play the music. I mean, heck, man, even in our day, man, it's like you become a rock star just knowing how to play 3 chords. You can be a well-known punk rock band, just know 3 chords and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's the artistry of being able to market the music, being
definitely.
able to promote the music. People, it's like to get with the right group of people, and they don't even have to be professionals. They could just be people in your locality. But if you've got the people you're able to connect with in your neck of the woods, man, and they're the kind of people, man, when they say, hey, there's a party going over here and everybody wants to come, you want to be connected to those people. I've never really known those people, right? And I'm certainly not one of those people. But that's a talent, that's a connection, a connecting talent that people have. What's up?
I was answering somebody else now.
Okay.
Can I Get a Channel says, it's so funny you're talking about them this evening because I bought my guitar amplifier from Kirk Hammett. I have a Mesa Strategy 400 and a bunch of other units. I can't believe I used to hang around with them because he knows Jason Newsted too. Mm. I can't believe I used to hang around with them and now I'm a solid Christian.
Man, well, praise be to God, man. That's the jam. And here's to you using this gear that you got. And your skills, man, to promote it, man. And that's what we got to do, man. Let's rock the gospel, y'all. That's what we got to do. So that's cool. Now, from what you've heard about me saying, is what I'm saying fair? Are those fair assessments that I'm making?
Tom Jensen says there needs to be a human touch in it.
A human touch, right?
I tend to be more cynical, like Caleb P. He says, can't go forward. The culture is decaying.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
It's subject to entropy, man. And you know what? Here's the thing about Kirk. This is my summation of Kirk Hammett's playing. Because Kirk gets a lot of heat, man. A lot of people they bag on Kirk Hammett. So it's unfortunate. He gets a lot of flack. But like I said, but the thing is, Kirk doesn't get out there and act, and he doesn't carry himself like a person who's like, I'm a guitar legend, right? When you think guitars, you think Kirk Hammett. He doesn't come off that way. I've never seen Kirk Hammett come off that way, right? But this is what I would say about Kirk Hammett's playing. When Kirk Hammett plays, it's him. I'll leave it at that. Okay. Kirk Hammett's style of playing, I think his best playing, was on Master of Puppets, and Injustice for All. I think that was his best soloing. After that, his intervals and his selection of like where to bend, the style of his bend, it's like a cross between a shimmer and a wide vibrato. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of awkward, right? I'm partial to like the wide vibrato, man. I like them bends that I'm not so much of a shimmer bender, and I know that would be sacrilege for like the B.B. King fans because he was a shimmer bender, right? You be playing on Lucille and for me it sounds like somebody like kind of having like a mini seizure, while they're trying to play. It's like they lock up in a seizure, and forgive me, y'all, because I don't mean to sound offensive to people who deal with epilepsy. You have to cover those bases. But that's how B.B. King would do it. It would have like this. He called it the shimmer, right? And I'm not really big on that. I like to bend that, and I like a wide vibrato, and Kirk's is, it's like his vibrato is somewhere in between that, kind of like the shimmer and the wide, and the where his solos, when he bends them, the resolve of where he selects to sustain a note. The interval is kind of like it's like it starts off like trying to be a pentatonic, but ends like, I don't know, but it ends like I don't know. If you're more of a guitar player, can you help me? Am I making up something that's not fair about Kirk? I don't want to be unfair because, like I said, I'm a huge fan of Metallica, and Kirk seems like he'd be a really cool person to hang out with. Just somehow his solos, he's got the speed, and I don't think that Kirk is sloppy. I don't think he's a sloppy player. I think when Kirk plays a solo, I think it's definitive. The notes are definitive. Just the choices of where he kind of ends up, like the resolves to his phrases are kind of. It's like, Kirk, I don't think that was as pentatonic as you might have wanted it to be. That it's like it kind of resolved like somewhere in a major scale, field or something like that, or somewhere. It's one of those things, between the major scales when you start, like, starts off a pentatonic, but somewhere it becomes like a Phrygian or a Mixolydian somewhere. Like, it's like, man, I don't know how you got there, man, but that I think you could have resolved that more consistently with how you began it. Does that make sense? And it's like, to compensate, to make it sound as bluesy or as pentatonic-y as he might have wanted to, he compensates with the wah-wah, right? So that's why, he's like, he'll start like a little it's like, oh, hey, and it's like he's trying to mask where that scale was supposed to go to in the pentatonic field. Does that make sense? It's like, oh, that's not going to resolve the way it should, so I'm going to throw in a wah-wah pedal. So here, does that sound kind of like Hendrixy or whatever? But hey, I mean, I can't touch, Kirk Hammett on guitar, that's for sure, and that's not saying a lot. And he was also an inspiration to me, wanting to play guitar. And I'm certainly not one of those he's inspired who's a surpassed him. Certainly not that. And but he's still part of the Metallica formula, even though Hetfield has the lion's share of writing the songs. And in the next Metallica album, I liked 72 Seasons. It was decent, but it's like, I mean, you could always do heavier, but there is still an expectation. Forgive me, y'all, because there's still kind of an expectation that I have, for Metallica. It's like, okay, Master of Puppets is the standard for me. That's the standard, and it's like, I don't expect Metallica to play as fast. This speed metal is you don't have to do speed metal anymore. Okay, I was a big speed metal fan back in the day. Metallica, you don't have to do speed metal. It's like I think Metallica tried to get a little bit of that Ride the Lightning vibe back, maybe a little bit of that Kill 'Em All vibe back with the 72 Seasons. I think for today. And I still think Metallica could still keep the integrity of what people knew them for. It wasn't note to Metallica, note to Hetfield, the principal writer of the music there. It wasn't so much that your songs were fast. Okay, it wasn't even so much that the songs were aggressive. We liked the aggression, mm-hmm. We liked the speed, but dude, there was a meatiness to it. All right, Master of Puppets, man, that the riffs in that album is so much meat. All right, so much meat. Even like when Battery kicked off, it may have been lean and mean, man. I mean, it was like that. It was like that meat was cut from like the meanest bull you could cut out of the gate. Fast and aggressive, right? But it was meaty though. That opening riff, man, it's just that gallop, man, and that selection of notes that they came up with it. It is the meatiest to me, if I may. And that's another thing I want to talk about is like the absolutism of music, right? Of the opinions of music, right? But the meatiness, man, to be able to play a riff, the speed of that riff. I don't think there's no other band out there of their day that came even close to the balance of speed and meat with Battery. Right? That's a gold, that's a platinum standard. Right? And it's like, oh man, what can you do from there? What can you do from there, Metallica? And then they bust into Master of Puppets. Totally different feel, right? Instead of busting out with the 16ths, man, that's okay. We just gonna do some eighth notes right now, right? And the selection of notes from there, right? Meat. It's still speed, you know, still got some speed to it, not as much as Battery. But the meatiness, man, that's what I'm trying to say. The thing I'm trying to get down to is I would like to see. I don't know if you guys would agree. I hope you agree. But if Metallica's going to do another album, man, if they're going to do another album, focus on the meat. Don't worry about the speed. Okay, James, don't. It's like, don't try to capture, if I may, don't try to capture the heyday of what it was to be, you know, the standard of speed metal back in your day. The thing that y'all could capture and you could you could be the superlative of today in terms of like a world-known metal band. Okay? Because there's always going to be another band that's going to be meatier than you. We know that. But in terms of like a household name, go for the meat, man. Tap into the meat. You can do that. And so that way you guys don't have to worry about how fast you can play it. You know, because they'd be like, look, man, we can't play them songs anymore. It's too fast, right? But man, you can just go ahead and just slow it down, and you can compensate with that for the meat. I know Kirk Hammett knows Meshuggah. Hook up with Meshuggah, man, and let your ego go, right? And take a course from them, man, on how, because I know that Metallica tried to experiment with some down tuning. They tuned down to B, I think, to drop B with their album Saint Anger. Not a bad album. I think once again, Lars Ulrich ruined it. He ruined And Justice for All. You know, he wanted to do all, you know, this. He wanted this pronunciation with this, you know, with his kick and the drums that just totally stepped on the bass guitar. So Jason's parts, man, it's like that's why the Justice for All album doesn't sound as warm and thick. That album is, man. Some people did fixes on that album, and I like those versions. It's a great album now. It was a great album then, you know, but the bass, man, Lars messed that up. Just like I think he messed up the Saint Anger album. I think it's Saint Anger. It's like he wanted this kind of like I can dig that you want to experiment with your snare tone, but it was overpronounced, man, and it made the whole mix sound trashy, where you couldn't really appreciate, you know, what they were bringing to what they're trying to do with the lower tuning. And I think, you know, with James, he was trying to keep up with the Joneses, with where this direction of music was going with the lower tuning and stuff like that, and trying to get all emotional and whichever. You know, it might have hit his fans a little bit too early and too awkward. But I think people are appreciating it more now. Why? Because people really wanting to hear more of the lower tuning. So they're revisiting the saying, it's like, okay, man, I see what you're trying to do here, man. And I think they should give it another shot. You know, try doing some more. Try the lower tuning again. Because I think like the thing that should not be. I think the thing that should not be was it wasn't a drop. They tuned their guitars to D for the thing that should not be. They didn't do drop D tuning. They just tuned their whole guitars to D. That's how they got that one. And that's a thick song, right? Give it a shot, James. But don't try to. It's one of those things you might not want to try to do that on your own. But if you got with the right producers, like I said, you guys know Meshuggah, you know, get coached by them on how to do it. Jam with them some, you know. Kirk Hammett's jam with them. He's got I've seen him, Kirk Hammett playing solos, you know, with Meshuggah. And those guys are insane players, right? Jam with them, man. Get a feel for it. It's kind of like being born again. You gotta learn how to walk again, right? It's a whole new thing to like retool how you play. You know what I'm saying? To fit with the times. And this wouldn't just be, but the thing is, this wouldn't just be them fitting with the times, y'all. This would just be, it would really be a revisitation to the heaviness that they started off with. It would be. It wouldn't be that they remember, y'all. They inspired these people who are playing the way that they're playing now. They inspired them. Tap back into what inspired to these people. Tap into that, you know, and make that next album, man. Become the superlatives of meatiness. You could do that today. Put out that album that's like, dang, man, Metallica went. They just went meat.
People are saying you might be sponsored by a meat company because you're saying meat so much.
I know that. This is making a drinking game. Meat. Okay, we're gonna have to change the word meat to beefiness. All right, where's the beef? They need to tap into the beefiness now, right? Anyway, okay, so I better move on to the next subject. As you guys can see, I'm a Metallica fan.
Bruce Stuckey said, "Hi Zoe, just letting you know I missed you on Zonation and Zoloft. I really enjoyed your performance in Gosnell."
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you so much. That's good to hear, and I hope more folks are able to catch up with that movie.
He says, "I also missed the flying wife shoe segments as well. Hilarious. Thank you."
Don't give her any idea.
Thanks for reminding me.
That's right. Flying wife shoe. Ha ha ha. Okay. Let's see. We'll just touch on these other ones like.
They're not as important as music.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we don't want to too much gloss over, you know, these incidences that happen. But you guys are probably familiar with the Vegas bombers and his the execution of what he's done, and then but he had a manifesto. We tried to read some of it. Not sure if there's like misspellings in there. He's putting in like some acronyms or whichever. What do you guys think? Is there a statement that's being made here? I'm pretty sure you guys are already familiar with the news and have read articles from your favorite news outlets. What do you think? Is he trying to make a statement here? He's going to take a Tesla vehicle and drive it to a Trump building, you know, and detonate that. What statement is he trying to make here? Because I would definitely say it's a statement.
Yes.
But what angle is he coming from as far as that statement? I'm just asking. It sounds like he shot himself before his truck detonated. What do you make of that? Is that,
did shooting himself detonate the bomb somehow? I really didn't understand that part.
I mean, well, if you're in a vehicle that is going to detonate, I'm pretty sure that death would be as certain and immediate as shooting yourself. Why would he not wait, you know, for the explosion?
Yeah.
Was he shot and then put into? Well, it's on camera. I didn't see him. What was on camera? I didn't see him shoot himself. I'm asking you: is that the case? Did he shoot himself? Was this a move of the deep state making were they the ones making the statement? Was he, I don't know, was he Manchurian candidated into pulling this off? I don't know. What do you, I'd like to know your thoughts.
There's a great summation that this guy put up. It says, in short, with his manifesto, this guy's manifesto, urgent national security threat. If I don't make it to the Mexico border, please keep this confidential until January 1. China is deploying gravity propulsion drones launched from the Atlantic submarines. These drones are a severe threat due to their stealth and payload capacity, capable of reaching the White House undetected. I've been followed for a week, possibly by federal agents, and he names all of the, 3-letter agencies that are following him. And this guy is a high-level military. He has clearances, so he probably was being followed by these 3-letter agencies. They normally don't bother with actual terrorists. They bother with Christians and conservatives.
Well, we are the terrorists as far as they're concerned. That's written.
Yes, they have written that. Possibly by federal agents, and I suspect an abduction attempt is imminent. My past involvement in exposing war crimes during 2019 airstrikes in Afghanistan may be related. This issue demands immediate media attention to prevent escalation and ensure national security. For verification, my LinkedIn profile is under Matt Berg or Matthew Livsberger.
Okay, so
that's the summation of his manifesto.
What I would say, according to that, it doesn't sound like he was on a suicide mission.
It doesn't, and he had his passport on him. He wanted to make it to Mexico.
Okay, so I don't know what trajectory he was on, going to Mexico, but I guess that included a stop at the Trump Towers. And maybe, I mean, because the details are, I'm trying to factor in him shooting himself.
Yeah.
It's like the so-called deep state, the invisible empire, are capable of doing a lot of things.
Yes, they are.
But I guess what I want to ask right now is those drones that were flying, like over on the East Coast. Do we still have we gotten any images of them?
That story disappeared.
Just disappeared.
Yep.
And this guy, I wonder if this is what he was talking about. Now, because the thing is...
Yeah, because he refers to the drones, and he puts drones in quotes. Mm-hmm. And he says it's China.
China, and these things are a product of, these are a gravitics approach to drones. Now, meaning that these drones, and y'all, I've thought about this for a while. Okay, we getting ready to talk about some jets and stuff. All right, we getting ready to talk into some Back to the Future. Why don't we have flying cars now? I've wondered and have wanted to have the resources. If I had those Elon Musk type resources, I would be trying to. I would be trying to engineer a flying car before trying to get to Mars. And before trying to make a self-driving car, I would totally be trying to come up with an anti-gravity car. I would totally be working on that. All right, but hey, I'm no Judas. I'm not one to tell Elon Musk what he does with his resources. I'm just saying, if I had those kind of resources, man, y'all had a flying car by now. Because I've thought about it. It's like, man, if I had the resources and the time to be able to just focus on doing that, y'all'd have a flying car by now. All right.
Yeah.
But because I've thought about it, it's like, why is it that if we're talking about this repulsion, the Earth itself puts out an electromagnetic field, right? Well, if the Earth puts out an electromagnetic field that's able to resist solar winds, okay, if it's doing that, you mean to tell me that, and I understand that we're talking about different properties of wind, but wind, when it's moving at velocity, that speed weighs a lot, okay, that wind can apply a lot, that can produce a lot of pressure, all right, or even if it's, outer space, in an outer space vacuum, these solar projections that are coming at us, that's going to do some pushing. Okay, pushing in our atmospheres and burn us up. We need an electromagnetic field to stave that off. Well, if the Earth has this electromagnetic field, you mean to tell me that we can't create a vehicle with an opposing field? Is that a dumb question? I'm not a physicist, man. I'm just asking. You know? But I'm like thinking, yeah, there's got to be a frequency or some sort of harmonic or something like that, to be able to match that field in a polarized manner to where you're now in opposition to that field. You mean that can't be done, man? You know, I'm telling you. I mean, it's not my life's goal to be able to do that, but I'm just saying, if I had those kind of resources, I'd be like, I want a team on that, man. Put a team on that. Let's get that going.
Didn't you look that up? And it said somebody had invented the concept in the 20s.
Well, and that's it. And yeah, this idea's been around for a long time. I didn't know. You know, but I didn't know who it was. But I'm sure. When I say that, I'm thinking, dude, surely other people must be thinking this too. I haven't really spoken it aloud. You know, but it's like surely other people have thought that, yeah, the Earth has an electromagnetic field. Wouldn't it make sense to have a vehicle that generates an opposing field? You know, so you have people who are thinking about that like back in the 20s. Wanting to be able to do that. Anti-gravity is a concept that's been around for a long time. Okay, it's like when we think anti-gravity. So why not?
Yeah.
You know. That would be one of the things that I would put my resources towards. And the thing is, y'all, what it sounds like, according to this guy, is that China is already weaponizing this technology.
Yeah. We had it first. The United States had it first. China has it now. And they now have these, he calls them drones in quotes, as if they're not really just drones. He says they have them strategically placed to wipe out the United States right now. And this is why he's like trying to warn. And there is a conspiracy out there that, and it may be because the deep state is the deep state, that they killed him, they shot him, and then put his body in that cyber truck.
And the gun with him.
And did the explosion outside Trump's hotel.
Yeah.
No real reason, just to, make it look even weirder.
Yeah, make him look like the weirdo.
Yep.
And whatever he's saying is not viable. He's just some crazy, conspiracy theorist.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, that. But like I said, I guess if there's video of it, how? Unless
I don't know.
I mean, maybe he already had a weapon on him or something like that. But in the angle of how they would have had to have shot him.
I think he did have a gun or guns on him.
Yeah, I don't know what the entry.
In the truck.
Huh?
In the truck.
Okay. I don't know what the entry wound was. I don't know if it was from his mouth or I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't read any of that yet. I don't think we have that yet.
And then from there and the damage that the explosion did to his body, that's going to make things more obscure.
Right.
I guess. But I mean, I'm pretty sure they've got forensics. Who were able to. If they're, I guess not in bed with the state, to be able to tell us, really what happened. But
like they were with the first Trump assassin.
Right. Interested into knowing what your thoughts are on that, y'all.
Mark Mealy says Nikola Tesla and Ayn Rand based some of John Galt's inventions on Nikola Tesla. That's interesting.
Yeah. And I know folks. There's a lot of folks out there that Tesla is heralded, to them, and he was going to be the guy who was going to give us free energy. And I'm like, no, he wasn't. It's like, look. I'm not saying that his technology, wasn't, or his approach and his ideas, weren't sound or anything like that. But people act like all they were going to have to do was like, I don't know, hold a wand up in the air and they could go ahead and power their house. Or stick their plug, stick their 3-prong plug in the ground and they'd be able to, power their appliances and stuff like that. It's like, no. The bottom line is, y'all, there's the potential itself, but you got to be able to store it. You got to be able to release it, distribute it and things like that. And for for a lot of the same kind of people. Basically, it's like when people say that wind, it's free energy, it's free. No, it isn't. It's not. It's wind. It's all over. It's an abundance. And solar is it's free energy, and that's what we should have. It's sustainable. And it's like, dude, that stuff ain't free. You still got to be able to capture that energy, and you got to be able to store it, and you got to be able to distribute it. All right. The resources needed to be able to make use of that energy ain't freaking free. All right. It's not free energy, man. And the same thing with even Tesla's approach. And the reason why I say that's definitely not going to be free is because a lot of these people, who believe in stuff like that, not everybody, but most of them, who have this, want this concept of sustainable and free energy and all that sort of stuff, you're definitely not going to get it. Because you collectivists, you socialist-minded collectivists, you're the ones who want all these industry to be owned by the state anyway. All right? Which means that you can go ahead and assume that you got energy that you're generating from your own property and stuff like that. Well, that property ain't yours anymore. It belongs to the state, and it's going to cost you, right? So if you want to have a socialist kind of society, you can go ahead and go to work, and you'll pretty much be working. Most of what you're going to be working for is going to go to the government, and you get to enjoy, like what's left and rationed back to you, and that free energy that you thought was free and stuff like that. You're basically paying that you thought was on your property ain't your property anymore. That energy, those energy rights, if you will, are property of the government now. And even if that's not the case, and we don't have it's like for what you guys want, there will be you're going to have some green industry that's going to capitalize on this kind of technology, and they're going to get in your pocket anyway, while you're thinking that you're getting free energy from the earth. Yeah. You ain't gonna get around it, man. It's gonna be even worse. You just might as well stop right there. You ain't gonna be able to enjoy having your own property and energy from your own property.
Right. This is totally off subject, but watching trains go by says, Zoe, your flag is backwards unless you're signaling distress.
Is it backwards? No, the blue field is supposed to be on the left side. If it's hanging vertical. I'm no expert, in flag etiquette, man, but.
I know we have aircraft Sparky. I think we've got a few military in the chat. It
might, I think maybe in terms of like in speaking, I think for speaking engage, if a person is speaking and you're going to have the American flag present, I think it's supposed to hang to your right. I think that's how that works, right? But I think it's supposed to hang to your right if it's posted, like if it's on a post. So it's hung in the horizontal position, even though it may be relaxed, but it still has to be situated to your right.
Okay.
But if it's hung
vertically.
Okay, you know what? No, I think you're right. I think you're right, Washington. I do. Yeah, the blue field is supposed to be on the. Yeah, and you know why? And the reason why I hung it like that, man, in a hurry, because I just tried to get on here really quick. Forgive me, because I don't mean to make excuses. Is because the seams. This flag is supposed to be hung horizontally. It's meant to be on a post, right? Oh, okay. But I hung it in the vertical position. And in doing so, I hung it according to the seams instead of according to the blue field. So you got me, man. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so it is signaling distress. So on January 20th, when Trump takes office, we will switch it.
Actually, but I guess I could say, there's a little bit of distress going on here. Yes. There would be some truth to that, but that would mean trying to, save face and stuff like that. I goofed. You caught me. I goofed. I hung it with the field in the wrong position.
Yeah, everybody's saying upside down is signaling distress.
Yeah, the upside down flag is.
I knew that, but I also thought if it's like that, it can signal distress too.
Yeah, it could be if it's in a horizontal position and hung upside down, distress. And I would say the same thing goes for. It's not as practical You know what I'm saying? It's not as, you know, it's easier to hang it on a post in the horizontal field and wave it than it is, you know, because one, you have the slot for the rod is, you know, on the you know, for it to be hung horizontally. Bottom line is I'm busted. Okay. But I tell you what, man, there's a couple of other things. We're going to be back shortly anyway. I think these other articles will hold until Monday. We'll be back on Monday. We've gone kind of long, and you guys
absolutely that article on the fellow Texan we can cover on Monday.
Yeah. You guys are very gracious for hanging in with me.
That was fun.
For as long as we went on tonight. I got to talking about music, man, and I got to jaw jacking, and because I want a career. I want to be a career musician too. And but at least maybe I get to talk about it a little bit. So thank you guys for tuning in. BronzeSerpentMedia.com, y'all. I hope you guys will come there and become a member. It won't cost you a dime. You know, just a couple clicks of your time. Just your email. I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to sell your information or anything like that. Just become a member. It's free. You know, populate our powwows, man. I want to see you in there. You know, sharing some stuff, sharing stuff that you find interesting, and it's a better way to keep up with my content if you want to, you know, stay tuned to what it is that I'm, you know, working on. So, BronzeSerpentMedia.com. Drop that buck in the bucket if you want to help keep your bros on the go. We're trying to, you know, do more productions, y'all. It's more than just, you know, more than just you guys seeing my fine self giving my opinion on things. But, you know, take these things into more creative outlets so we can get out there and, you know, promote this stuff, you know, the Word of God, you know, and conservatism based on the Word of God, and do it in more creative media. So I'd really appreciate your support to get those things done. All right, y'all. Thank you guys so much once again for tuning in. Have a most groovy rest of your weekend. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.